A- And good evening, everybody. Welcome to Going Nuclear, full blown coverage of the land. We are part of Collectin' and Connectin', Good Vibes Community. Ethan Greenberg here, and alongside of me is my co host, Mike Rasinski. And we've got some special guests here this evening. First of all, we've got Carter and Camden, and we have the voice of your Cleveland Cavaliers, Tim Alcorn. Welcome, everybody. Carter, Camden, you doing good?
Yeah. Yeah, it's real good.
Excellent. Thank you for being with us. Tim, how are you, sir? You're enjoying the All-Star break.
I am enjoying the All-Star break. I feel like I'm being overshadowed here by Carter and Camden. I'm going to have a hard time following this act.
They are pretty good. They are very good. They're very knowledgeable. So even though Camden is a Ravens fan, that's okay. We'll forgive him, right?
That's all right. He does have something in common with us, in that both all of us kind of grew up in the sports journalism world, and Camden has indicated that he's in seventh grade now and is kind of interested in following that same career path. So I don't know, Camden, did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about the classic question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's becoming I'm really into sports, and I think it'd be cool to be either like a sports journalist or B, a sports announcer. And I was just like wondering how you could possibly get into that career, like how you
Wow,
could get into that field.
that's pretty cool. And I guess you don't want to make any money when you get older because that's number one as far as sportscasting is concerned. But no, it's a great question. And actually, I was younger than you when I decided, you know what, I think I'd like to be a sportscaster someday. And it all began with me listening to high school sports on the radio. I lived in Nashua, New Hampshire, and Nashua had two high schools, and the local radio station in Nashua would carry these high school football games and high school basketball games. And we had neighbors around us. And ironically, one of the neighbors, their kids went to Nashua High School, which was the public high school. And then the other neighbor on the other side, they went to the private high school in Nashua. But both of those schools were covered. So I would hear my neighbors' names on the radio, and the announcer would talk about, eating the hot dogs and listening to the bands. And I thought, this guy's got a great job. And I love sports too. So I thought, man, maybe I can do that someday. So, yeah, if that's your dream and that's your passion, if you still want to do it as the years go along, as you get through high school and college or whatever the case may be, don't give up on that dream. So I did high school sports for a long, long time. In fact, I did high school sports 3 nights ago. I did a high school basketball game on Friday, and I'm doing a high school basketball game tomorrow night. So I still love doing high school sports and talking about the kids and their communities and so forth. So yeah, it's a great dream to have. So don't give up on that. And what I would say is, work hard in all of your classes, because there's things that you will learn, whether it's a math class or a history class or an English class, that you'll be able to incorporate into broadcasting at some point. So that's a really cool thing to want to do. And it's a lot of fun. And now with the internet and streaming, there's so many opportunities that are out there that I would encourage you to follow that dream as long as it's something that you want to do.
Cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Excellent advice. That is excellent advice. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish I had gotten that advice when I was younger. No.
Well, Ethan, you still haven't given up either. Yeah, I mean, you still do broadcast too, and
Here
so
I
yeah,
am.
the
Here I
dream
am.
lives.
The dream lives on. So yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, guys. I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent here, because I'm sure you
Go
have
right ahead. Go right. Whatever
you got
man.
topics you want to cover. But people often have asked me, how different was it to do the Cavaliers compared to high school sports, or how much of a change? And I'm like, you know what? I love doing play-by-play. So whether I'm calling Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, or tomorrow night when I'm out in a small town in Ohio, Milan, Ohio, by the way, the birthplace of Thomas Edison. Now, we've all used Thomas Edison in our world because, of course, he invented electricity. In fact, the name of the high school that I'm going to be at tomorrow night in Milan is Edison High School. But I'm going to love doing play-by-play. It's about doing play-by-play and just calling the action and painting the picture. So whether you're doing that at a high level, the NBA, the NFL, I've done some Guardians baseball now, MLB, but it's still play-by-play. And that's what should get fired up about the job. So I'll have just as much fun tomorrow night as I'll have Thursday night when the Cavs get back in action after the All-Star break.
Yeah, my memories. You just mentioned Milan, Ohio. I have kind of sort of a bad memory of Milan, Ohio. I got to spend the night in the. I think I fell asleep in a tow truck shop there after I crashed on the turnpike after Kent State won the MAC title in '99, and so I spent some time in Milan. Not exactly the memory that you're going to have, but it hit me as you were saying that. So I digress.
Okay. Well, let's speak of.
You spent a month in Milan one night. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, of better memories and of the upcoming second half of the season now, Carter, do you have a question to ask just about the Cavs in general?
Do you think what do you think of the trades that the Cavs have done recently?
Phenomenal trades, great trades. Let's start with the one that they made first. The first deal was DeAndre Hunter to Sacramento for Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder. So I don't know if you guys are stat geeks. You really dig into all the numbers. I do a little bit. I don't pretend to know every single solitary analytical stat. But one of the things that the Cavs really had problems with is defending the three-point shot. Teams were really going out and just knocking down three balls on the Cavaliers. And so Keon Ellis was a guy that they had targeted because he's an elite. He's a really good three-ball defender. He goes out, he defends the wing. He's got long arms. So hopefully that will maybe not completely solve, but it certainly will address the Cavs' issues as far as three-ball shooting. And at the offensive end, now Keon's numbers have dipped a little bit this year. He's fallen below 40%. But in the previous 2 years, he's been above 40% as far as three-ball shooting. So he certainly has the capability. Hopefully it'll come back with the Cavs and into the playoffs to knock down three balls. So getting Keon Ellis, I thought, was terrific. And then Dennis Schroeder. I've always been a Dennis Schroeder fan because he's a guy, he's played on a lot of teams. And so a lot of people think, oh, he's played on a lot of teams. Nobody wants him. Well, the flip side of that is a lot of people want him. And he always seems to be a guy and a player that when he's on a better team, his game really rises. He elevates his game. The Detroit Pistons last year had a great run in the playoffs. Or I shouldn't say in the playoffs, but during the regular season to get to the playoffs. Dennis Schroeder was a major part of that. He's a competitor. He's hard-nosed. He's a very good point guard. So, again, going back to what the Cavs needed at the trade deadline, they needed a backup point guard. Lonzo Ball had just had a bad season. And, again, I can't sugarcoat that. He just wasn't playing well. So they bring in Dennis Schroeder to kind of handle that backup point guard spot, which I thought when the trade was made was going to be for DG when he got back. Well, then, the blockbuster mega trade, James Harden for Darius Garland. Number one, I was just stunned when it happened. Like, wow, what am I reading here? Because I was reading it like everybody else. But I think the Cavaliers showed they're playing for a championship this year and next year. But they've got a window. They've got an opportunity to play in the NBA Finals for the next couple of years. And so they went after a guy that is one of the best to ever play the game. He was on the 75th anniversary team a couple of years ago. So that's how highly he's thought of. He's 6'5", so he's got size. He can pass. He can rebound. He can shoot. He can draw fouls. So short term, I love the deal for James Harden. Now, Darius Garland may play another 8, 10, 12 years. Who knows? And down the line, people may be saying, yeah, well, Garland's still playing and he's an all-star. And that may be the case. But for right now, the Cavs being in the position that they're in, I thought it was a great deal. I really did. And you've seen the early return so far as what James Harden has been able to do on the floor. He's blended right in. And tomorrow, actually, Wednesday morning, will be the Cavs' first practice since they've had James Harden on the team. He hasn't even practiced with the team yet. So just wait until he gets acclimated even better with his teammates and know the system a little bit more. But I'm really excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, you mentioned the kind of the minor trade first, and it kind of went back to me. It seemed like just defense was lacking at the first part of the season, whether it's because of injuries or more focus on the offense or whatever. And this trade kind of shored up some of the defensive shortcomings, like you said. But my one question for you, does either of the two guys we got in that trade, Schroeder or Ellis, do either of them have arms like snakes?
I think I've already used it with Keon Ellis. I think I have.
Perfect. You needed to bring it back, so I'm glad it's back.
You were talking to Jim about it the other night in the home game against the Wizards. I was on my way home, and you were talking about the long arms, and you said, like snakes, and because you're having this discussion with him. You had a lot of time on your hands in that game against yes. Washington.
You're looking for content at that point. So for our budding sportscaster in the youngster group, always have something to talk about. But you know what? Actually, it just jarred my memory on that. I did use it with Schroeder because I said he has arms like German snakes. And of course, Dennis Schroeder's from Germany. And so our producer in one of the next timeouts actually got in my ear and he said there are like 5 or 6 snakes that are indigenous to Germany. Now, I have yet to pop that one out. So we'll see when the opportune time comes. But they are written down, and there are snakes that are only whatever. Their only habitat is Germany. I can tell you that. So
that is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Wow. Yeah, I mean, the trades certainly were interesting. What was kind of, I'll circle back to this, but last year we talked to you on the podcast right before the trade deadline, and we were amazed when they made the move at the record they were at that point to trade for DeAndre Hunter, and then they trade away a Karis LeVert and a George Niang, and we thought that was going to be the key, and gosh, it didn't work out this season. Any thoughts on what kind of happened to DeAndre Hunter this year and why maybe Lonzo Ball didn't work like we anticipated?
Yeah, so I'll start with DeAndre Hunter. We all had high expectations and high hopes for DeAndre Hunter because when he came to the Cavs following the trade deadline and about the same timeline, 25, 26 games left as we have this year with these guys, DeAndre Hunter played well. He played well coming down the stretch, and he filled that role that the Cavaliers envisioned him filling, that 3-and-D guy and the ability to knock down shots. And his comfort level was immediate because of the fact that Ty Jerome was on the team. They were best friends, played together at Virginia on that national championship team. So that may have helped. But that being said, and even in the first round against Miami, DeAndre Hunter played well. And then I think he injured his thumb, I believe it was.
Yeah, that was on a ridiculous play.
Yep. In the Indiana series.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, he slipped, not literally, figuratively, he slipped in his performance against Indiana. But now you come to this year and you're thinking, okay, unfortunately, Max Strus has the Jones fracture in the foot. DeAndre, in all likelihood, will slide right into that starting spot. And now with a full preseason and training camp, he should be outstanding. And it didn't happen. And I know your question was why. I really can't put a finger on it. And I don't know if Kenny Atkinson or Kobe Altman or Mike Gansey can say this is why it happened. He didn't appear comfortable in the starting role. for all his time in Atlanta and when he came here after the deal, he was coming off the bench. I mean, him and Ty Jerome were certainly in the running for sixth man of the year last year. Now he's starting, so perhaps he wasn't comfortable with that. So then Kenny made the move to bring him off the bench, and he just never quite seemed to get it going again. So one thing about the Cavaliers, if something doesn't work out, they'll try to adjust it immediately. Dan Gilbert, the chairman and the owner of the Cavaliers, he has a slogan: "Fail fast," which means there's nothing wrong with failing, but correct it immediately. And so whatever was happening with DeAndre Hunter, this team was in the second apron, and he wasn't performing to the expectations and the level that they had hoped he would. They saw an offer there for Schroeder and Ellis, and they decided, we're going to move. We're going to make this move. But why it was happening with DeAndre, I do think at the beginning of the year, I don't think he was comfortable starting. And again, you had Garland at that point. You had Garland, Mitchell, Mobley. So where does Hunter fit in? And I think it was, okay, let's shift him back to the bench, but he never quite regained it. For Lonzo Ball, yeah, that was a disappointment from the get-go. Again, he just never quite seemed to find his footing, and I think his play struggled. I think his confidence slipped, and for whatever reason, he just never was able to put it together. So again, fail quickly, fail fast. They also had a chance to shed that salary, and now you bring Schroeder in, so you've got a quality backup guard, and I think they thought, let's move on from Lonzo Ball.
Are you this is 2 years in a row where they've made some pretty shrewd deadline deals, this Cavs front office. Sounds to me like you're pretty impressed with how they maneuver around and actually find a way to get better for a team that's already really good for 2 years in a row now.
For a team that was in the second apron. Think about that. And not to get too deep into the weeds for your viewers and, second apron and tax and penalties and all that. But basically, if you're in that second apron, which is 2 levels above the NBA salary cap, so that shows you how effective the salary cap is. But if you get into that second apron, you are paying a real heavy price as far as penalties or taxes, if you want to call them those. So for the Cavaliers, if you're in the second apron, if a player is on a super max contract, and the Cavs had 4 of those, you can only trade a super max for a super max. It has to be a 1-for-1 deal. So to be able to pull off Garland for Harden, to me, that's a stroke of genius by Kobe Altman and Mike Gansey, the GM. And then to be able to work the DeAndre Hunter deal, because he's not a super max player, to me, again, that was really an incredible achievement. And then you shed Lonzo Ball's salary. So they are still barely in that second apron. As Kobe said, they'll address it this summer. Let's hope after a championship. But they're barely in that second apron now. But they in the process, were able to save $100 million in penalties. So you bring in 3 quality players, you shave $100 million in penalties, and you're just barely above that second apron threshold.
That's incredible, incredible work there. And they didn't even need to have Andrew Barry's laser eyes to make capology moves there.
Listen, like I said, without getting too deep into the weeds, because you could do a whole, your whole podcast just on salary cap and how it works and trades and aprons. And it's like, believe me, you can get lost in it. But for what the Cavs accomplished, it really was amazing. It was. Hats off to Kobe and Mike and everybody involved. The capologists, they literally have a staff that does nothing but read those numbers and contracts just to make sure everything irons out in the end.
Yeah. So one thing you mentioned earlier too was that tomorrow, I think, is the first time that some of these guys they'll be able to practice together as a team with all these new additions. So you have that factoring in that we don't have Strus back yet, or Evan Mobley's still out with injury. Is this a team that can overcome maybe not having the full team together to practice and figure it out with only 27 games remaining to the playoffs? Or do you anticipate any bumps coming down the road with just this kind of roster overhaul this late in the season?
Oh, Mike, that's a great question. I do think Mobley's return is imminent. Now, is he going to practice tomorrow? I don't know. Is he going to play Thursday night? I don't know. But the original prognosis with Evan with this second calf strain was 1 to 3 weeks. And we're pretty close to that. So if he misses another game or two, I don't know. But I think his return will be pretty soon. So that being said, I think once Mobley does return, and think about that with Harden now throwing lobs not only to Jared Allen, but Evan Mobley and that inside-outside game. I think once Evan returns, there's enough there. I do. I think this roster is structured to make that deep playoff run in the Eastern Conference. I'm sure we'll talk about the East at some point if you want to, but
Yeah,
to me,
definitely.
the Cavaliers, to me, and again, I may be looking at it through, wine and gold colored glasses, but to me, they have the deepest roster in the East. So yeah, I do think there's enough time. 27 games, especially with a guy like James Harden who has that high basketball IQ. I mean, you've watched what he's done in 3 games with never having to practice. Dennis Schroeder, he's been around 11 teams. He knows most systems. He knows terminology. He knows where he should be, where the ball should be. So yeah, I think that's plenty of time. And I think this 27 game stretch between now and mid-April, it's going to allow Kenny to work some different combinations, work some different rotations. And I think they'll be full steam ahead, knock on wood, injury-wise, but I think they'll be ready to go come playoff time.
Right. Now you mentioned Evan Mobley and Carter Camden. I didn't want to keep you if you guys have anything to do. Don't mind. If you're
what time's their bedtime? That's what I want to know.
I know. They better not have homework to do still. That's all I know.
I'm teasing.
No,
Stay up with us. Stay up with us.
It's all good. Now you mentioned Evan Mobley and our friend Mike over across the pond in the UK. He said his question. It feels like a big few months for Evan Mobley. He could be next to get flipped if he doesn't perform. I mean, there was a lot of scuttlebutt at the trade deadline. People talking, oh, is there a Giannis sweepstakes? Could they move Mobley for Giannis? I mean, what are your thoughts about where Evan is at in his maturation process and his ceiling, and if he can reach, what level he can reach, and maybe how Harden fits into that even?
Well, that's a great question, too. I mean, you guys are loaded for bear here tonight. But I agree with you. Evan Mobley's ascension is critical to the Cavs' success and critical to their championship aspirations. I think Evan this year and Kenny Atkinson have looked at his game and said, okay, maybe he's not that stretch 4 that we thought he was, and then knocking down 3 balls. Not to say that they still don't want him to shoot out there, but I think they've worked him more back to the wing, the inside game in the paint. To your point, Ethan, or to your question about with Harden, I think James Harden is going to aid Evan Mobley exponentially because he will get him the ball in that low post and in that lob scenario. So it is a big few months for Evan Mobley. You can't sugarcoat that. I've always said right now, Donovan Mitchell is the best player on the Cavalier roster. I don't think anybody would argue that. But to me, they win a championship when Evan Mobley is the best player on the floor. I really believe that. He has the ability, as you said, Ethan, the ceiling. He has the ceiling to be a dominant NBA player. And I think once he gets to that level, to me, that's when the Cavs win the title.
It seemed like when I mentioned Giannis. Giannis was kind of a string bean himself early in his career, physically, speaking. And I'm just curious, does Evan have the body type to be able to add that bulk and that strength to his game, to be able to bully people down low?
Yeah, I don't know if he'll ever be Giannis-like.
Right.
To me, he's somewhere between Durant and Giannis.
Okay,
right?
no, that's perfect explanation. That's because Kevin's a string bean.
Right. He's got those toothpick legs and that slim body. And Giannis, as you said, I mean, he is really filled out. I don't know. I don't know if Evan will ever get to where Giannis is. I know he works out like a fiend and he lifts weights constantly. So maybe it's just his body type.
Yeah.
Because players do tend to lose weight as the season goes along. They just can't keep up, weight wise and workout wise, with the amount of energy and calories and what they're doing throughout the year. So I don't know if he'll ever get to the Giannis type of physical stature, but I do think, yes, he can be a physical low post player. I do believe that. Yes.
Yeah, I think they need to send him for the protein bowls over at Chipotle, the 80 grams of protein. You're going to have to come on, Tim. You see him on the road. You need to feed him better. Let's go.
They eat well on the road. Trust me. The Cavaliers feed the guys very, very well. In fact, the team nutritionist does travel with us. So all the menus are approved. Everything we eat is approved. Sometimes that's to my chagrin because I'm not a player. Like, where's the pie? Where's the ice cream?
Well, that is, that's very interesting that, I mean, at this level, that shouldn't surprise me. But I mean, traveling with smaller, minor league teams, that wasn't the case. It was like, you're on your own. You're on your own for eating. Yeah. Oh, here's your stipend for the day or whatever, this number of days, and do with it what you will. Now, Tim, did they play the credit card game at the restaurants where they put the credit cards in the hat and you draw the credit card out and someone ends up paying for the entirety of the table? Did they ever do that? Or is this just a minor league thing?
Wow. No, I have not heard of that. And I hope it does not catch fire. I hope there's no Cavaliers watching this right now that go, that's a great idea. Because that's not going to be me saying that. Holy smokes.
I was like, no, I don't think I want to participate in this game. I'm out. I am out. This is from a man, Drew Hagenbaugh. He says seeing Jared Allen playing well has been crucial to the Cavs' success as of late. How does he not get lost in the mix of things when Evan Mobley returns? I mean, you often hear the scuttlebutt again about Jared Allen and what's he do? He looks lost out there, kind of out of place. I mean, how do you not let that happen? He can be a force, except he did lose a few inches when he braided his hair.
The way Jared Allen has been playing as of late has been all worldly. Started on that West Coast road swing, the career high 40-point game, 18 rebounds, 17 rebounds, I want to say, up in Portland. He was just a man amongst boys that night, and it's continued forward. Now, we've had Jared on a couple of our post-game shows after Cavs wins, and he's talked about the fact that Kenny did say to him, listen, with Evan out, you need to be more proactive. We need you as that big guy to carry the team. And Jared seems to be a player that, at least from my vantage point, when he gets involved early, he's energized. You get him 3 or 4 good looks at the beginning of the game, and he's throwing one down, or that bank shot that he's now developed, or a tip in, and all of a sudden he starts running the floor. So I think the key for Jared is to continue to keep him involved early on. I think he and Evan can play well together. And I think Jared has the capability to maybe not put up the numbers that he's putting up now because Evan will be back. But I do think that he can be a real force in that paint area, especially with James Harden. We've really yet to see what James can do with the big guys. And I think that's something to behold, because once Harden really gets to know Jared, and when Evan is now on the floor with him, man, for the other team's defense, it's going to be choose your poison. It really is.
Yeah, we've even seen that the other night. I don't know. Choose your poison. Sam Merrill. How important is that guy?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to see the double teams of Donovan Mitchell anymore. You're just not. The last 3 or 4 games before the Harden deal, teams were just double teaming Donovan Mitchell. Like, you are not going to beat us. Well, you're not going to do that now. not with James Harden, and then the return of Sam Merrill to the lineup. All of a sudden, you double team Donovan Mitchell. You're going to leave Harden open for a three. You're going to leave Merrill open. Oh, by the way, Jalen Tyson is in the top 3 in the league in 3-ball shooting percentage. So that double team is going to slack off. And from that point on, Donovan's going to have great looks. Other guys will have great looks. I just think, again, offensively, the Cavaliers, they're going to be a hard team to stop.
Now, this is a good problem to have, getting Mobley back and eventually hopefully getting Strus back. But it's kind of been a revelation seeing some of our younger guys perform. Porter, Tomlin, Tyson's really emerged this year. Who do you think is going to lose some playing time when we get these guys back? Because there is only so many minutes in a game. And we've been playing a lot more of the bench, I think, this year than we did last year as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. Usually in the playoffs, coaches will go 8, maybe 9 deep. But Kenny has often said, which I think is a great point, sometimes that depends on the opponent and the game itself. So you may not see 10 players every game, but it may be a different 8 or 9 depending upon what the matchup is and what the actual individual matchups are. So, if you're going up against an opponent or you're in a game where there's a lot of guard action and you need guards out there, maybe it's the front line that gets reduced a little bit. If it becomes more of that front line game, maybe a guy like Craig Porter sees his minutes diminish. But I think Kenny is so comfortable with literally the 10 guys that he plays right now that's going to be a game by game, matchup by matchup type decision, because there's not anyone that he doesn't feel he can put on the floor that aren't going to bring the results.
Yeah, good question. Carter, Camden, I know it's getting late for you fellas here, so I wanted to just thank you very much for hopping on with us again. As always, really appreciate that. Hope you've enjoyed this. We always enjoy you being on with us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got to
you.
get a new hoodie though. That Ravens, man.
Amen to that.
I'll get you Josh Allen, or I'll get you a Bills hoodie.
There you
Yeah,
go.
at least I'm not Pittsburgh.
That
True.
we can all agree on that. Well, thank you very much, fellas. Really appreciate you being on again, as always, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Nice
thank
meeting
you.
you.
Good seeing you guys.
All right. Okay. So can everybody hear everybody else here? Because I know that sometimes we have Mike.
We're
all
good this time. Yeah.
Yay. Yeah. Like I said, this program is ridiculous, Tim. I'm sure you've never run into technical difficulties on the road, but of course
Never.
you always have. You have a wonderful engineer there, and to keep you going. But yeah, I think that it is going to be interesting to see how the matchups work. Is there, this year at the All-Star break, the Cavs went in 34-21, 4th place in the Eastern Conference. We're 7 out of first place, but only a game and a half behind Boston for the number 2 seed. Last year we're just cruising on in at 44-10. I mean, how high of a ceiling do you think the Cavs could run down Detroit, or is that going to be a tough task to come back 7 games down to the Pistons?
Well, when you're down 7 with 27 to go, that's a pretty steep hill. Now they do play Detroit twice, so if you sweep those two, now it's 5 within 25. Put it that way. I mean, they don't play them the first 2 games out of the break, but is it doable? Yeah, I think Detroit would have to go into a pretty steep slide to have that happen. And listen, hats off to JB Bickerstaff and that organization and that team. I've always been a big JB fan. What he did with the Cavaliers, I thought was a remarkable job. So, and to me, if they're the number 1 seed, they're the number 1 seed. I mean, you're going to have to win some games on the road at some point. So I think the Cavaliers certainly can go into Detroit if it ends up being the Cavs and the Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals and win a couple of games there if they have to. But to me, I think the 2 that are in front of us right now, which would be Boston and New York. I think the Cavs can overtake them, and I think the Cavaliers, if everything, again, knock on wood with injuries, but if this final third of the season goes as I think it could and should, I think the Cavaliers will probably end up as number 2 in the East.
Yeah, I could certainly see that. Is there any team versus another, or that you think would be a tougher matchup for the Cavs to be able to get out of the Eastern Conference and facing them in the playoffs? Like, who would you not want to see, or who would you rather see? And obviously, you don't try and make. We saw what happens when you try to like get a certain matchup. That doesn't always add up to the best results. But
Right.
just curious your thoughts about which teams are going to be prove to potentially be the most difficult, or do we really know now that we've got these changes to our roster?
Yeah, well, first to talk about your latter point, right? With Harden, with Ellis, with Schroeder, how will that impact how the Cavaliers, as I mentioned earlier, look at rotations and look at lineups against the Boston or against the New York? I guess the thing with Boston for me now, again, the caveat is, does Tatum come back?
Right.
I mean, how close could he get to the level that he's used to playing, coming off an Achilles? But if Tatum comes back, and again, hats off to Boston, because I never anticipated Boston being where they are right now, and that's a credit to Joe Mazzulla and his system. Those guys just believe they're going to win, and no matter who he puts on the floor. And if you had told me Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser are going to have Boston sitting in the top 3 in the Eastern Conference going into the All-Star break, I would have said, yeah, I don't think that's happening. In fact, I did say that. So, but I don't think Boston, and again, benches get shortened during the playoffs, but I don't think they have the bench to make that real deep run. I guess if you were to ask me a team that would concern me, it would be the Knicks. And we'll see them.
Great minds think alike here, Tim. Great minds think alike. I was thinking the same thing. Mike from across the pond thinks the same thing. What about it, Mike? Where do you fall on that that line? Are you kind of thinking Knicks is potentially your most worrisome?
Yeah, I have the same, and I'd love to hear Tim your thoughts on why the Knicks more than anybody else.
Well, they advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, so that's a hungry basketball team. You've got an elite superstar player in Jalen Brunson that can put a team on his back. Their physicality. That's another question with the Cavaliers that I'm not sure they've completely answered yet. But New York will knock you around. And as much as I said, you got to win a game or two on the road in the playoffs. MSG is daunting. That's a really, really tough place to play. So if the Knicks were to somehow hang on to or get to number 2, and the Cavs were to have to face them in a non-home court scenario, I'm not saying the Cavs couldn't beat them, but that would make that hill a little bit steeper to climb. So, yeah, I think Mike Brown does a terrific job with them. They've dominated the boards with us in the matchups that we've had so far. So, yeah, that's one. I'll be interested to see towards the end of the month when we play them here at Rocket Arena, how that game will unfold and how Kenny will use matchups, and just see how that all works out with the Knicks. But to me, that would be the matchup I wouldn't want the most, I guess.
They ruined Christmas Day for most of us.
Have we thought about how weird it is the top 3 teams in the East may be Cavs or former Cavs coaches?
Yeah, right.
Maybe we've done something right.
Wow.
Hiring,
I guess so. Yeah, that's interesting.
Something that just came up because you talked about the toughness. What did you make of the brouhaha between Charlotte and Detroit? That was crazy. And I mean, I guess they're fortunate that Duran is not getting a bigger suspension. It's the biggest suspension is the beef stew, as they call him, which is hilarious in and of itself. But wow, that escalated very quickly.
It did. Now, listen, that's the way Detroit plays. And I don't mean they play dirty, but they play physical, and they get in your shirt, And JB talked about that here in Cleveland. He wants to see toughness. He wants to see grittiness. And he really has ingrained that within the Detroit system and with their personnel. And he's brought those type of guys in that'll elbow you around and get physical. He wants that type of game. He wants to muck it up, to use that term. And so that can get under your skin.
It even got under Jared Allen's skin last year, and he went after him, got teed up in that game that Garland saved us with the buzzer beater.
Yep, just inside the half court line. Yes, but you're right. Jared was not happy, but that's the way Detroit plays, and I think it's just as much a psychological aspect. They want you to be thinking about how physical they are and how they're knocking you around, rather than the actual basketball game on the floor. So it did escalate in a hurry. And listen, Charlotte's got a couple of guys. Diabate is one of those. I know Jim's constantly chirping about Diabate and some of the things that he pulls while he's out on the floor. So it didn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if Detroit got into a fracas with any team, because that's how Detroit plays. And again, I'm not saying it's a dirty brand of basketball. I'm not saying it's a bad boys, Lambeer, Mahorn type of thing, but it's how they play, and it will get under your skin. And so in a 7-game series against Detroit, you're going to really have to manage your emotions.
Very, very irritated. It would be very, it's a gnat of sorts. It's very irritating in that way here.
It lands harder than a gnat.
Yeah, probably. This is a good question. Mike asked, would you agree the Cavs bench now, guys like Schroeder, Ellis, Tyson, Tomlin, feels similar to kind of what the Pacers had last year? How would you make that kind of comparison, Tim?
Yeah. I think that's fair. And again, I just saw the names there. What do you rattle off? 4 or 5, right?
Yeah, we said Schroeder, Ellis, Tyson, Tomlin.
So there's 4. There you go. So already you're looking at a 9-man rotation.
Right. And we haven't even talked about Wade, and we haven't talked about,
Wade, Merrill. So Kenny's going to have to work that all through. But yeah, I do see that. And I think that's advantageous. The more talent you have, the deeper your team is, the better off you're going to be. You go back to when JB was coaching the Cavs and that series against the Knicks. He didn't have a bench. I mean, I think he would look over at the bench and go, those 5 better stay on the floor. Because, and that's why they logged so many minutes in that Knicks series. This current Cavalier team definitely will have a deep bench if they all still stay healthy going into postseason. There's no doubt.
Yeah. How did the trades, from being around the team, how did it impact the locker room?
Yeah, first of all, I think guys understand that's the business side of basketball. It's interesting. I'm now in my 7th year as the radio voice of the Cavaliers, and DG was the only guy left from my first year. We came in rookies the same year, Garland and I. So players understand that there's turnover, and that's part of it. That's not to say that, hey, they don't become friends with these guys and they don't become tight and hang out when they're on the road, or even probably here in Cleveland, they'll get together. But they understand the business aspect of it. So, and I also think for the Cavaliers, the renewed energy that you saw after the deal, I think it spurred them to say, Kobe and Mike Gansey, they think we got a shot at this thing. And they're putting their chips in the middle of the table. They're playing for a championship. And so I think it also energized the team somewhat. Yeah, they're, sad to see a DeAndre Hunter go. But the flip side is they also realize this is not only the game of basketball, it's the business of basketball. And you're in the business and you play the game to win championships. And the Cavaliers have absolutely 100% demonstrated they're playing to win a championship this year.
Yeah, and Mike, this is also the scuttlebutt. Get ready to be calling LeBron games next year, or so the media wants to talk about. Did the guys, are they affected at all, or did they hear the noise from the outside? I mean, obviously they know what's going on the from their agents and so on and so forth, but they can't be immune to what's being said all around in the media?
Sure. Oh no, there's no doubt. I mean, listen, just like everybody in America, they're on their phones. They're scrolling, they're reading. Obviously, even more than what we're reading, they know the real inside story as to what's going on. So, does it impact them? I don't think so. I don't. I maybe with other teams, but as far as reading stuff about the Cavaliers or what's happening within, their own framework, no, I don't think it impacts them whatsoever because they know what's going on in the locker room and they know, what's happening on the floor. And again, the NBA fraternity is very, very tight. It really is. At some point or another, these guys have either crossed paths with different coaches. It's very interwoven. And so they're all communicating with one another. Do they read it? Do they follow it? I'm sure. Sometimes it may be for comic relief, but they're aware of it. But I don't think it impacts them. I don't.
Yeah, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess Dennis Schroeder's on social media engaging with fans every day, which can be awesome. I heard Kevin Durant during the All-Star break was on a burner account. Apparently, that was the rumor, is that he was on his burner account and was talking smack about people.
I heard that too. Like I said, everybody gets on their phone and checks out the news. So, but yeah, I do think the guys do that. Now, are they all like Dennis and interacting with fans? Maybe not, unless they've got burner accounts like obviously, allegedly, Kevin Durant did.
Yeah, what'd you think of the All-Star events this year?
I liked it. Again, the one thing that the NBA has really been searching for is to bring competitive level back to the game. Just bring some competitiveness back to it. The last few years, it's just awful. It was a terrible product. And I give credit to the NBA for recognizing that and trying to come up with a solution to say, man, we're not asking them to play at a Game 7 conference finals or NBA finals level, but can they at least show some effort out there? So I think the round robin, I think that worked in a way. I love USA versus the world. I think that's cool because the NBA has become such an international game. You're up over 1/3 of the players in the NBA are international players. Think about that. I mean, they're above 33%. It's in the mid-30s somewhere. So I love it. And you rattle off, some of the great names that are playing right now in the NBA. A lot of those guys, if not all of them, are international players, from Giannis to Luka to Jokic to Shea's from Canada. I mean, right on down the line. So
right.
I think it's great. And I give the NBA credit for saying, let's try to fix this. Again, fail fast. If something isn't working, let's try to fix it.
And trying to fix things, the latest talk, especially during All-Star weekend, was how do you stop teams from tanking? And that's interesting. I don't know how you kind of incentivize that. They've already tried incentives, for individual performance of you have to play so many games before you're eligible for postseason awards. We already have the lottery system, so you can't tank all the way. No, you're getting the top pick. So I didn't think it was that big of a problem, but apparently it is. Is that something that you noticed too over the last 7 years you've been covering?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know when a team is tanking. You can just see it as far as who they're putting on the floor, who they're holding out of games. And obviously the NBA is very well aware of this. Now, they have just signed these multi-billion-dollar deals with networks, and fans who are in the higher end suites and clubs and loges, they're paying a lot of money for that. And if you're not playing top flight stars, then you've got a major issue on your hands. Do I know the solution to it? I don't pretend to know the solution to it, because I do think to try to maintain some sort of balance within any sports league, whether it's the NFL, NBA, not that you reward, that's a bad word, but I do think the lower tier teams need to have some sort of system in place where they can then get higher level players, either coming out of college or whatever the case may be. So I think that is correct. You just can't make all these college guys or whatever the case may be, free agents. I don't think that works because they're all going to want to go to New York or LA or winning teams or whatever the case may be. So you've got to have some sort of system in place where those who aren't doing well do have an opportunity to rise. And the only way you rise is to get better players. Well, that means better positioning in the draft. But the tanking issue is absolutely there. And I know they are studying it because it's hard. It's hard when you show up at a game and guys just aren't playing for rest or all of a sudden a mysterious ankle ailment that they didn't have 24 hours ago. So I hope they find something that's a reasonable solution without undermining the fact that you still have to give teams perhaps who are legitimately not having good seasons an opportunity to acquire good players.
Yeah, I mean, all the answers, how about Mike says, however, give every non-playoff team the same odds to get the top pick. I mean, I don't know how that fixes it, if it does or not. But remember, think about the fact that the Cavs, let's see, our number
that's
one
what they
pick,
used to do with the envelopes.
Well, right. Our number one pick ended up being what? That was the trade that ended up being LeBron was the Baron Davis trade, right?
Yes.
I mean, and then I was speaking to some other people. Think about the back-to-back years that the Orlando Magic got Shaq and then Penny, and they were almost in the playoffs after the first year. I don't know which order came in. Did it come Shaq and then Penny? I can't recall, but whatever it was, the next year, even though they had the least favored odds or, to get the number one pick, they ended up with a number one pick because of the draft lottery, the way it worked. And, yes, I forgot the frozen envelopes of Patrick Ewing.
Right. And that's where everybody had an equal chance. I don't know how many teams it was at that point, but right. They just put all the envelopes in there and, here we go. So,
okay. I had forgotten all about that.
Yeah, that was not weighted. That was not weighted in any way. Hence the, conspiracy theory. Searching around for the frozen envelopes. Oh, that's a cold one, and pull it out. And again, I'm not saying I subscribe to that theory. I'm just saying that was the conspiracy theory. But, they need to come up with some sort of solution. I don't know what it is. But I do, I know they've talked about not having teams get a top 5 pick in successive years or whatever the case may be. So they're trying to figure this out, or maybe, moving the line back to earlier in the season once those odds are put together at that point so that, the last 15, 20 games, you don't see teams tanking. I don't know. I think they're going to put together something, though, to try to solve this.
Maybe we need relegation like they have in Europe football. You could expand. You could solve the expansion problem, just bring in a whole bunch of NBA teams in different cities, and then have a 2-tier league, and you can relegate to the lower league if you don't do well enough.
Well, that would solve for you playing poorly, wouldn't it not? At least you wouldn't try to. You would be like, oh, I don't want to get relegated. I don't want to lose all that money.
That's right. I don't know. Tim, have you been watching any of the Winter Olympics since you're on a little bit of a break now?
Yeah, not a lot. I've seen a little bit of it, but not as much as I had hoped to see. I'll put it that way, because of this high school basketball stuff I'm doing.
That's even better. I'd rather watch high school basketball anyways.
Yeah. So this was something that I thought about today, and I wondered, as you travel around the NBA, do all NBA teams and arenas in Cleveland, we have, Ahmad Crump. Does every NBA city have that, or do they use a traditional announcer for starting lineups like they used to, like Howie Chiswick?
Oh, so you're talking about whether the in-arena host,
right, versus the PA announcer.
Yeah, you know what, Ethan? I haven't really paid that close attention. Now,
you're kind of busy. You're kind of busy, but
Yeah, I mean, as before the tip-off, you're doing a lot of stuff up there. That's a great question. I'll have to study that, because every arena does now have an in-arena host, right? Where everybody's out there running around during the timeouts, and every sort of entertainment you can think of is taking place. That's a good question about every in-arena host also does starting lineups. I don't think so.
Yeah, because
I'll have to really pay a little more attention
well,
to that.
something came up on social media, and it was one of the championship teams for the Chicago Bulls, and hearing that, the old, hearing their old announcer and doing all that, it made me think of it. I'm like, I wonder if any.
Well, I just thought of one that I know does not, because prior to Sean Peoples doing the PA at what was then Gun Arena and Rocket Mortgage, and then now it's Rocket Arena. The gentleman who did the Cavalier PA was Olivier Cedric, who's now with Brooklyn. And I know Olivier does the starting lineups for the Brooklyn Nets, and he is not the in-arena host. So, yeah, I'll have to pay a little more attention to that as to how unique is Ahmad that he's the in-arena host that also does the starting lineups.
Yeah, it's amazing how things have changed in the arena. It seems also that they've, at least during the broadcast, you don't hear as much music during the play of games. Like, it got to a point where every time down the court, you've got music and this, that, and the other going on. And now it seems like that's kind of toned back down a little bit.
Well, I know teams have complained about that. Obviously you're going to have the music during the timeouts and so forth, but yeah, it's exceedingly difficult when you have that music going in an arena while the game is being played. I talked earlier, a while back about how daunting it is at MSG. Man, that organ just pounding. Oh, I mean, I'm just sitting there calling the game, and it's intimidating to me. Like, da, da, da. You're like, wow. And it's that's a tough place to play. That really is a tough place to play.
Wow. What do you make of Charlotte? We go down there, and I mean, they had a horrible shooting night. We escaped with a win there. And since then, they boom, flip the switch, and they're playing great basketball. What's that all about?
Yeah, and we get them on Friday night on the back end of a back-to-back with Thursday home to Brooklyn and then flying to Charlotte to take on the Hornets. Yeah, they're playing very, very well. In fact, there was one game where it was when we were on the West Coast, and Charlotte won a game. They made a big comeback or something, and they won a big game. And so during the timeout, I texted their radio play-by-play guy, great dude, Sam Farber. I'm like, what are you guys drinking down there in Charlotte? I mean, and he's like, this is unbelievable. I mean, Sam has been through some tough times down there in Charlotte. So, yeah, I mean, whether it's Charles Lee and his system just kind of kicking in, I don't know. I've been going over some of my Charlotte notes here just to kind of get ready for that back-to-back, and they've got guys that are playing very, very well. So that's going to be a tough one on Friday night. Now, they play Thursday night as well, but they're home. So it's a home back-to-back for Charlotte.
Now, do you have like a little fraternity of broadcasters? Like, do you have the phone number of all the different teams broadcasters too? Is it like that in the NBA community?
Oh yeah. It's a pretty tight group, and I have to say, I mean, just from my own personal perspective, man, 7 years ago when I was the new guy, they welcomed me with open arms. It's really it's a great bunch of guys. And we have like a Facebook Messenger chat that we all pop on once in a while and exchange views. And yeah, I think I have pretty much everybody's number as far as, being able to text back and forth or whatever the case may be. But it's a great group of people. It really is. And I'm fortunate, like I said, that they welcomed me. But the funny thing is, everybody at the NBA level has done what I did, and we talked about earlier, what you guys do. And some of the most fun that I ever have with those guys is sharing, our small to medium market station stories. Oh, I remember when I did this. Oh, I went out and did this game, and we had to run a phone line 300 yards. And we share those stories because we all paid our dues. We all, as I mentioned earlier, just have the passion to do play-by-play. And I'm still somewhat of a newbie in my seventh year, but even the veteran guys that kind of paid their dues going up, they relish those times. And so that's what makes it really, really cool.
Good question here. What do you think of what's happening with the Wizards making the trades they made, and these guys are just shut down? They trade for Trae Young. Oh, he's shut down for the season. Anthony Davis, he's got another injury. I mean, it's kind of odd.
It is, but I think they're also, again, we talk about tanking and positioning yourselves. This draft coming up is a deep draft. From what I read, from what I hear, it's a real solid 6 through 8, 6 through 9 draft as far as guys that are come in and make an impact in the NBA. So I think Washington is saying, okay, we're going to sit these guys down. Let's see if we can position ourselves to get another top flight player coming out of college, and then have a healthy Trae Young, a healthy Anthony Davis, along with Sarr, along with Koulibaly, along with whoever comes up this June, and they're positioning themselves for 26-27.
Have you compared notes on beards with James Harden yet?
No. The only thing I'll say is that I do have a beard trimmer. I don't think James Harden does. So
no, I don't think he does either. We got a big game at Oklahoma City. I mean, amongst others, we're going to Oklahoma City on Sunday. Last time we played them, earlier this season, that didn't go so well. And last year at OKC didn't turn out so well. We've seen San Antonio match up with them beautifully. Is there anything that we can take away looking at the Cavs as to how San Antonio is being successful against OKC?
Well, again, you're looking at the game on Sunday through a different lens, with Harden, with Ellis, with Schroeder. Again, I hope Evan Mobley is back by Sunday. I would think that timeline may have him back by the weekend. So, and again, with Wemby, everything changes. I mean, he is such a unique force on that floor. He makes any matchup difficult. So I don't know if you can look at what San Antonio does and say, well, we have to do the exact same thing, because Kenny has his system. Now, how do you tweak your system
right
while scouting Oklahoma City and what other teams are doing against them? But I don't think you can simply say, well, we're going to do what San Antonio does, because we don't have Victor Wembanyama. We'll talk about another foreign player. Yeah. So yeah, I think the Cavaliers will play very competitively on Sunday. I think you were being kind, Ethan. They were embarrassed by OKC up here. And I think the Cavaliers, with these new additions and the fact that OKC just stuck it to them here in Cleveland, I think that'll be on the Cavaliers' minds when they go in there on Sunday afternoon.
That is, yeah, hopefully so. Hopefully we're going to have a nice long rest of the season here and a successful one. Everybody can stay healthy, and because the darn injury bug biting us in the playoffs is getting rather tiring.
Well, the thing is, the Cavaliers certainly have suffered through so many injuries this regular season, unlike last year, right? Last year, team was pretty relatively healthy once Strus got back, and then all the injuries hit during the playoffs. Well, if you're going to flip it, you're going to battle the injuries during the regular season and be healthy in the playoffs. Hey, we'll take it.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, I didn't, want to hog any time. Is there anything else that you had wanted to ask that I might have overshot?
No, I think we're good. I just appreciate the time. It's always a pleasure, Tim, to talk with you. Thank you so much.
You guys are awesome. I love doing this with you, and I know we've had a chance to meet and talk personally at a couple of Wizards games, and I know we're done there this year, but if you ever want to make your way up to Cleveland and stop by and say hello, that'd be great. But you guys do a fantastic job. Great questions and good conversation. So hey, if you want to do one of these when we get to postseason, I'm in. Let's do it.
Well, absolutely. We really appreciate it, Tim. Your time. We know your time is valuable, and we really appreciate all that you do. I love listening to you and Jim, and it's always a good time to have you here on the podcast. It's just fantastic.
And thanks for inspiring some young guys too. They really appreciate it. We're excited to get on today.
No, that's so cool. No, I love talking to kids, and I love talking to people who want to be broadcasters. And like I said, I'm incredibly blessed to be at the NBA level. But for those who aren't, just love what you're doing. Have a passion for what you're doing. If you get to the NBA, great. But if not, that doesn't mean you failed. Just love what you do and have a passion for doing play-by-play. That's why I will be in Ethan's favorite city of Milan, Ohio, tomorrow night.
Yeah, that'll be good times. Okay, wait, Mike had one question here. Any thoughts on Max Strus and what his role could be if and when he comes back? Where does he fit in? Is he, back in the starting rotation? Is he coming off the bench? Any thoughts on that?
That's a great question, and I don't have the answer for that. I mean, Jalen Tyson has just elevated his game to a whole different level. We didn't even have a chance really to chat much about Jalen. To me, he's the story of the season. As much as Donovan Mitchell has played at an all-star level, all-NBA level, Jalen Tyson's emergence and ascension as a player has just been incredible. So, to the question of Max Strus, number one, I haven't really heard anything, scuttlebutt as to when he's coming back. It's a tough injury. That Jones fracture is really, really hard to recover from. And that's why his initial prognosis then got pushed back to post All-Star game. And then how and where will he fit in once he does return? That's going to be a heck of a puzzle for Kenny to figure out. I don't know if they have the answer to that yet.
It might be a good problem. I just thought of another thing. Naquan Tomlin. Oh. How impressive has this guy been? He just earned a full regular NBA contract. Unreal. A guy who didn't play in high school.
Didn't play high school basketball. It's an extraordinary story. Just that raw energy. Listen, he's a raw player. He's not the finished product at all. But, man, the energy, the passion that he brings to the floor. It's never boring when Naquan's out there. And the electrifying Dominique Wilkins-like dunks that he brings. He is so much fun to watch and call, and he has worked his backside off to get to this level. So I'm thrilled for him. He's a terrific young man. He really is. And to see the success that he's had and still know that ceiling is high. I mean, he hasn't even scratched the surface yet as to what he'll be able to do. And he's become a valuable contributor. It goes back to what we were talking about with playoff rotations. Naquan might see his minutes squeezed a little bit, but boy, when he's out there, it's usually valuable time. He's on that plus side and the plus minus.
I love his energy between him and seeing CPJ and Tyson. Those guys all bring energy on a nightly basis, which is just fantastic to see. So, again, Tim, thank you so much for all your time, for always making yourself available. We really, really do appreciate it. And so who's playing again tomorrow night? And on what station are you going to be on?
I am on our Cavaliers Audioverse affiliate, WLKR, for Monroeville and Edison at Edison High School in Milan.
All right.
The home, the birthplace of Thomas Edison.
I could just hear the announcement. And welcome to Edison High School, the birthplace of Thomas Edison.
But there you go.
I can hear it already.
What do you think their nickname is, by the way? The Edison what?
Watts?
Close.
Light bulbs?
Chargers.
There you go. Chargers. I like it. I do like it.
The electric charge, right?
I love it. I love it. Well, Tim, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Again, want to thank, we are part of Collecting and Connecting, Good Vibes Community. Thank you to Paulie Campione, who lets us be part of the network here. And again, want to thank Camden and Carter for joining us. So for Mike Rasinski and for our very special guest, Tim Alcorn, as well as to all the fine people who tuned in, asked questions. We really appreciate that. That's going to do it here tonight. I'm Ethan Greenberg, and you've been tuned in to Going nuCLEar, full-blown coverage of the land.